So welcome to ProfileTree TV, and today we're very excited to be introducing Dr. Jan Louise Jones. So I better get that all right. So no, thank you very much. And you're a tourism expert, so we're really excited to talk to you. And I know you're going to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background now.
Yeah, great. So first of all, thanks for having me today. I'm super excited to talk to you. So just a little bit about my background. I actually grew up, was raised and born in Nova Scotia, Canada. And my first two degrees were actually in sociology and a little bit of international studies. Didn't really quite know what I wanted to do in the very beginning. You know, I was that stumbling around undergrad student. And then I actually came to the United States to do my PhD. And my PhD is actually in recreation and leisure studies, leisure management, and under the guise of leisure, studying tourism development, and specifically became very fascinated with sustainable development. So I've been a professor for about almost 15 years now. And yeah, it feels like forever. But yeah, super excited to be here today and just very passionate about finding sustainable ways to keep this industry growing.
Amazing. And so you've been teaching tourism and hospitality for the last 15 years?
Yeah, so I really started out, teaching sociology, psychology. Those are my first two degrees. And then kind of transitioned into tourism after my master's program because I became fascinated with tourism in Cuba, and did a project there. And that's really what launched me into studying tourism. So even though I was in programs that were more recreation management and even sport management, my area was, I always focused, I was like the, little lone person there studying the social impacts of tourism. So yeah, so I've been teaching tourism and hospitality classes, actually have introduced tourism and hospitality to 3 different schools now. Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And how has it been received in the local area? Are people signing up and enjoying it? Is it more and more people every year, or is it steady?
Yeah, I mean, I think the industry itself goes in waves. I mean, in general now, different programs have to really be creative in terms of getting people to come into their programs. What I love about the current university I'm at is I just feel like they want us to be innovative and try new things. And that's the kind of teacher I am. So it's really, honestly, I've only been here, this is my first full-time year at this particular school, but it's just a really great fit in terms, I feel like they understand, they let you kind of look at or ask you what, we need, and then let us kind of go out and do it. And I love that.
Amazing. Yeah. So obviously you've been consulting in the niche as well, I guess. So what kind of roles have you been involved in?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say in terms of consulting, a lot of my consulting work really fell under the guise of research in the beginning. So, I've been to Jamaica and I worked with some small businesses there, and we did actually traveled all over. I stayed in Kingston, Jamaica, speaking with small tourism companies of, just some of the real challenges that they're having. Obviously, there's so much culture in Kingston, Jamaica, but yet most tourists that go to Jamaica never actually get to Kingston, right? So, and the challenges for that. That was an amazing project. Another project I worked on was in Jordan. And we traveled all over 13 different places, looking at just what would the impact be if they used moved to voluntourism as sort of a national tourism strategy. I love that project because they don't usually sociologists don't get brought in until there's problems. Like a lot of you're seeing over tourism now, and everyone's like, oh, how do we fix it? What I loved about that project is the company and the organization we worked with recognized that we need to figure out what were going to be these cultural impacts before we start this type of industry. So those were 2 big projects that I really kind of fell under research that I did. Then I've more recently worked in Connecticut with Discover New England. New England, as you know, is made up of several states, and just sort of as a marketing package, what is it that people in Europe know about New England, and do they even know what states make up New England? And so just more of a marketing kind of project with them. It was a smaller project, but just to sort of get an idea of, what are the industry people saying about New England and promoting about New England? And sometimes what you promote and what you think is special is not what's special to the tourist or to the traveler. And it's so fascinating, the difference. So that's kind of what they were looking at.
Very
Yeah.
good. No, you're totally right. It's we've all got these perceptions, but
Yeah.
actually, more often than not, to prove wrong.
It's so true. It's so true. And my favorite. I hope I don't take too long, but one of my favorite stories about that was being in Jordan. So you can imagine growing up in Nova Scotia, Canada, trees everywhere, right? And one of my colleagues was so excited to bring me to this area in Jordan that had trees, which was, pretty rare in that case. So he's so excited. He's like, "What do you think?" And I just was like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be excited about, and for me, I was so fascinated with the desert. I was like, there's camels and people selling tea on the side of a road in a desert. Like, to me, that was beyond cool. The trees, not so much.
So of
So
course,
yeah,
amazing, amazing. So
yeah,
that, yeah, the local people are thinking the trees are amazing, but actually, yeah, as a tourist,
for them it is, and it's an amazing environment, really cool place. But yeah.
incredible, isn't it? No, so that's a very good point, and we often forget that we're not selling to ourselves, we're selling to other people who don't probably enjoy the same things that we do. So no, good point, very good. And you mentioned voluntourism, which is actually, I'll be honest, it's a term that I haven't talked to many people before, and I know it's something you've done in your past. You wouldn't mind just explaining what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the simplest version, in terms of the definition, not to get too academic here, it really is quite simply the combination of volunteering and travel. And so, as you can imagine, there's all different levels of that. And in the old, we've been voluntourists for centuries. It's really kind of how tourism actually started, if you really think about it. We took these journeys and we stayed in places, and volunteered in those places in order to get a bed. But really, in the academic world, it sort of emerged as an alternative type of tourism to what I would call inclusive tourism. So, this idea that, not everyone wants to go stay in an all-inclusive, they want to get immersed into the culture. And volunteering in a culture is one way that you can do that. I personally feel that it's become another industry now, and that it's really a different type of special interest tourism. Um, Quite frankly, there's all different kinds out there. So there are people that go and they want to volunteer the whole time they're away. And that is a very immersive, mostly volunteer program. The travel component is getting there, maybe doing a couple things in the community, but not really a focus on travel. And then you've got the other end. And I sometimes pick on those ones a little bit, in the sense that, it's like, really your goal is to travel, but you might volunteer and do an hour or two on your 4-week vacation. And I'm a big proponent of making sure that these programs are developed by the communities themselves, because what's often happened is big corporations will go in and create these, and not even corporations, nonprofits will go in, and tourism entities will go in and create these projects, but with very little thought to what the actual community needs. And so that's what I was doing in Jordan.
Amazing.
I don't know if that explained it okay, or
Yeah, I know, brilliant, excellent. And Jordan, so you got to travel around all of Jordan then, yeah?
Yeah. So I traveled all around Jordan. My specific role was actually to meet with academics. I don't speak Arabic, so that was a little limiting to go. It was limiting for me to do research in the communities. But the amazing thing was they were using my same instrument in the community. So fascinating conversations that we had there. And I think they were very excited about the idea of, people caring what the communities need, and really identifying some of the potential cultural problems with having people from totally different backgrounds, and wanting you want to preserve sort of the things that you value in your community. And it can be scary to have strangers there, really intimately there. They're staying with families, they're interacting a lot more on a lot closer level than you would in some tourism.
Amazing, incredible. And then if we talk about, I guess we're talking about the different parts of the world, but the economics, there's economics, there's different developments around the world, different levels of development, the government's impact. Do you think all of these factors have an impact on tourism of a region?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a huge proponent of governments not relying solely on tourism, because there actually have been amazing case studies where, you know, it brings in a lot of money, but, you know, overnight it can be devastating if you don't have a diverse economy, or if you don't have a way for people to continue to make money from those industries, because it's a huge investment, right, for people to take on, and then all of a sudden, if something political happens or something happens in your economy and people are just not able to go there anymore, it can have a huge impact if you don't have a diverse economy. And I think the way to do that is to think of businesses that can flourish and grow after the tourist leaves, right? And now with, you know, internet and online stuff, you can be selling that stuff or connecting those tourists still to your community after they're gone. And I think people are starting to look for that.
Very good. And how do the social and cultural impacts of tourism differ then between places, I guess?
Yeah, so I mean, I think specifically with voluntourism, you're actually in the community a lot of times, living, and you may stay at a hotel, but you're generally with the community nonstop, depending on the type of program. I believe it actually has the potential to have a higher negative impact in that way if it's not developed in the right way. And by saying that, I mean that, you know, you can have, if you have misunderstandings between culture that you haven't figured out before people actually go there, then that can cause a lot of damage. On the other hand, it has the ability to create these amazing connections among people. So, you know, there's so many people who've gone on volunteerism trips, and that's sort of been their, you know, I have to say, for me to in Cuba, I didn't do a volunteerism project per se, but we traveled, we did what was called a social tour, and we traveled all throughout and really met with community leaders, and we met with schools, and we met with mental health facilities. And I, to this day, will remember that experience and have, you know, a real, you know, big place in my heart for Cuba. So yeah, so I think, you know, tourism can be this amazing thing, or it can be this, you know, it can cause a lot of damage, and we have to really be careful on how we develop it. Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. So, and I guess you're at the forefront educating young people going into tourism today. So, have you interacted? You mentioned there in Jordan, obviously you have, but with other academics or other educational systems around the world in tourism?
Yeah, so I've actually been so fortunate to do research and work on projects. I think I've traveled now to over, I think it's 14. I'm sort of losing count at this point. And I'm so, I mean, as a kid growing up in my little small town, to think that I would have traveled and had those opportunities, I really didn't even know that that would be something. I've One of my favorite schools to work with was in Portugal. There's some really great schools that are emerging there in Portugal. I did some work in Ireland, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I did some work in Northern Ireland, and we actually did a sustainable tourism training there. And so got to go around and see all kinds of facilities, and yeah, that was amazing. So that was another research project. It wasn't a research project, but a project put on when I worked in West Virginia. They sent a whole team of us over to do kind of this training over there. Yeah, it was great. Um, those are the sort of two schools that I've worked most specific with. I also worked on a project in Germany. We took some students for a competition there. It wasn't so much a tourism project, but um, amazing project where they have these global teams. And so you get there and you're assigned to a team. There might be someone from Germany, there might be someone from China, and you have to build a hotel. And each day of the 4 days is you're running this hotel, so you have to market it and you have to do all the finances, and so it's a competition in the end, and it was incredible.
Wow.
One of the most fun things I've done. Yeah.
Well, you need to be creative in that one, no doubt. And the travel to Northern Ireland specifically. So you were coming over. It was a study for the US or to help here.
So what it was is there was a training. I apologize because I can't think of the actual training program we went through right now, but I can certainly get it for you. It was in Ireland, but it was in the north part of Ireland. So it was in the area of Cork. We were in Cork. We were in oh gosh, Donegal, all kinds
Oh
of places.
wow! So you travelled all of Ireland then, north
Yeah,
and south. Yeah, yeah.
we're all over. In fact, I'm pretty sure we ended up in Northern Ireland at one
Yes, I'm
because
sure you have. Yeah.
we went to a gas station. All of a sudden, it was more expensive to buy cookies.
That sounds about right. No, you crossed the border, then that's what happened. So very
Yeah,
good.
didn't even know we had crossed. But yeah, that was too funny. Everyone's like, "Oh, we don't have pounds." At the time, it was pound. But yeah, so that project was really cool. They actually took us to different facilities in those parts of Ireland, and just kind of showed us like what it took for them to put together these sustainable tourism projects. And the idea for the training was this idea that to really get new industry folks on board with this, to care about sustainability. And so, yeah, it was a team. It was organized by the university, West Virginia State University, and it was tourism leaders there. They had community development leaders go. I think there was 2 faculty that went. And so it was really cool for me, because now I wasn't only learning from my international colleagues, but I was learning about how things even work back in the United States. So it's kind of cool how an international project can, teach you more about that
Incredible.
stuff.
And then so you'd be supporting international collaborations then, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think you'll find someone more passionate about something like that. And I was sort of thinking about this interview before we started, and I really remember as a kid, one of my first sociology professors, he would literally fly in, I feel like, from Mexico on some project he was doing to teach class. And all the other students were kind of like, oh, this guy is never prepared. And for me, I was just like, I wanted to know as much as I could. And I just really feel like, we need to work together on these things, and we have to get past the sort of competitive environment and work together. And I really am a huge advocate. I've probably worked on more international projects than I have local.
Oh,
Yeah.
incredible. Excellent. And you've obviously done extensive travel around the world. So what were some of your favorite travel experiences then?
So it was really hard to come up with some of those. I do have to say that I'm in that kind of person that loves people. So, and it's funny because my brother and I laugh about this. He comes back with pictures of landscapes, and I come back with pictures of people everywhere. And so I really would say I've just met some incredible people around the world, every single place I've gone. And I try to instill that in my students, that if you go into the world with a positive mindset, you will come back with a great experience. But okay, so let me give you a couple that were my highlights. So in my family, St. Patrick's Day was actually a big kind of celebration. So to be at St. Patrick's Day in Dublin, I honestly can't. I was just so excited to be there. So that was amazing. Going to Jordan, I'd never heard of Petra before. I didn't even know where I was going. That was just a whole other kind of experience to hike through there and to see, just to see these sculptures. It's like kind of mind blowing. Yeah. And so that was really, really cool. I loved Jordan for a lot of the history. There's so much has started there, right? And so that was fascinating. The other thing that I really loved was in Jamaica. I got to meet a lot of musicians, reggae musicians, and I just love music of all kinds. And so it was just it's so cool now to see them, actually coming even to the US on tour sometimes, and to think, oh gosh, I had the opportunity to really meet with them and talk to them about the importance of arts and culture in tourism, and why we can't forget that. And same thing, you might not value it in your own country, but people around the world, they want to experience that, and to really cherish that, and kind of use it as a selling tool.
No, very good. And as you mentioned, as you're saying earlier, it's like you think of the things that we appreciate or don't appreciate around us, but other people love.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I have to say, I go home every year to Nova Scotia, and try to bring my family there. And I go to the same locations, right, where my family is. This past summer, I went and traveled on the South Shore of Nova Scotia, which is actually where most tourists go. And I just reminded me of like, wow, you can really live somewhere, and when you move away and you go back, you appreciate it sometimes even more. And it's just exactly what you just said. There's things I completely forgot we had in Nova Scotia, like white sandy beaches. My kids are so angry because they're like, why haven't we seen these? And so, yeah, you forget about stuff like that.
Totally agree. I lived 11 years away from Northern Ireland. We're home. This is our 5th year. So actually, I've never visited so many tourism places and had so many experiences since I came home in my entire life. It's incredible. exactly as you're saying. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask as well. So what do you see any trends, I guess, or anything happening in the industry that I guess we should be aware of, or should be watching out for, or expect growth in?
So, I mean, I'm actually super excited that the millennials are changing the face of travel in the sense that, I know it's uprooting some things that we've done the same way for many years. But one of the things that I love about what's, I believe, coming is more experience-based tourism. So people are no longer just looking to book their hotel room and necessarily go have a beautiful meal. They now maybe want to learn how to make that meal. Or, okay, really cool to go and see some cool musicians and cultural experiences, but now they want to be immersed in those experiences. For someone like me with a sociology background and, fascination with people, these are just I think I think that's the exciting new trend about tourism, is this experience based, and special interest tourism. I think that that isn't, those are, different areas that people are really starting to, I know I want to do culinary tourism, or I know I want to go on a wine tourism trip. And, working with tourism folks to really craft those different ideas, what are the trends that make sense for your community and your area, and what can you really build on for tourists instead of just walking around and seeing things. People want to be immersed now, I think.
Incredible. So experiences are critical.
I really believe that. I believe that's where we're headed. Yeah. If not, we're already there. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. And you think it's the millennials that are driving this with their Instagram and all the photos and videos and their experience focus?
It's a global place, right? Yeah. It's like, even, it's so silly, but like even setting up spots to take a good photo so that they can share what they experienced. I mean, those are, I don't know if I'm dating myself a little bit, but it used to be the Kodak moment here in the US. There'd be little Kodak moment spots. Well, now it's like, having people that are traveling to your area really do a lot of the promoting by them having a good experience. Yeah. It can go both ways though.
Can though, but no, incredible. But when you think of it, that's the best marketing tool you have. Is
Absolutely.
actually it's
Yeah.
sharing. Wow,
I mean, it used to be word of mouth, and now it's just social media.
the pictures, the best pictures, the best videos. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, and doing stuff, and it's funny. I mean, I know as a traveler, I love taking photos and having those memories, and yeah, I just think that the experience side of it though is so important. In Jordan, actually, they have it's called Petra Kitchen. So after you hike, you can go to this kitchen, and they give you the recipe, and they teach you how to make a traditional meal there, and just totally amazing experience. So yeah, so instead of just going and having a traditional meal, you're actually learning how to make it with people who've been doing it forever, right?
Yeah, incredible, absolutely incredible, excellent. And around the world, have you seen many changes then in time in the last couple of years, or is tourism the same as it was years ago, but apart from the Kodak moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the challenges that some of the traditional areas are having, and I'm sure you've been reading about this as well and experiencing it in some places in Ireland, but and is this term we use, over tourism, which is really having to get creative with how we're um, you know, in dealing with too many people, really. And I believe what we need to do is get more creative to get people out of some of those epicenters. Not to say don't go there, but staying out of those areas, because honestly, if the local people and industries are so overwhelmed and so frustrated with tourism, how is it ever going to keep growing? And I do believe that's happening in a lot of places, and we're seeing a little bit of that. But I think we can fix that. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually working on a new class and potentially new project in Prato, Italy, to just kind of, look into some of those options as well in Italy.
Wow, incredible. So no, very, very interesting actually. Yeah, instead of stopping people going to a popular location, try and move them or direct them to other places and develop
Yeah.
experiences in those other areas. Incredible, yeah.
I think too, educating people about, so if I knew that what I'm doing could potentially impact future generations of ever going there again, that, to me, that's important to know. And I think educating tourists, and this is probably one of the hardest things to do, is how do you educate a tourist, right? But but finding ways to educate tourists about, this is why we restrict how many people per day, or this is why we ask you not to take photos. Or I think if people understand that we're trying to preserve it and conserve it for the future generations, I think people will, most people would respond positively to that. And because I know I want, I've been to Petra and I want that to be there forever, right? So I think education is a big part of it, but also being creative of how to get people sort of out of those highly populated areas.
Yes. Excellent. So no, very, very interesting, great advice. And then if we're going to ask you, what's the future for yourself, and what's on the plans, or what's your focus for the next couple of years?
Yeah, so thank you. So I am pretty new to this university, so I'm still navigating some new projects and things like that. Super excited to be in a tourism hospitality program at the University of New Haven, and it's in school business, which I believe is very important for students. At the end of the day, they need a job, and those business skills are really invaluable for that. My next, and actually it's funny you should ask, because I believe we just got the final approval today. If not, we have one more approval to continue offering. We are offering a study abroad course this summer in Prato, Italy. And it's been going for a couple of years now, but because I'm new, we're going to have a little bit new of focus. So the first class that students will take is called Food and Cultural Cuisine. We actually take them to all these traditional places in Italy, in Venice and Rome and Florence, to places that have been making these things forever, right? Cheeses and biscotti. I'm so excited. And then, so we get to go, there's that side of it. And then the other side of it is really looking at Prato, and this is what I mentioned before, as potentially one of those destinations that, it's only a 15-minute train ride from Florence. How can we encourage people to come and have some experience-based opportunities in Prato? And so my students will be working on some projects where we explore and come up with, what are the special types of special interest tourism that makes sense maybe for that particular area or surrounding regions in Tuscany. So that's coming soon. That'll be this summer. So I'll be that side of the world in your time zone.
Amazing.
And then the other is, I'm quite honest and honest about the idea that I do want to continue doing some international collaborations, and I'm kind of moving away from wanting to continue to do really research-based projects in terms of publications. Is not necessarily not to say that I don't want to still work on stuff like that, but I would love to get into some projects where I feel, one of the things about some research projects that always bother me is you'd go there and you'd have these amazing experiences and you'd collect data and then you'd write your paper and then you'd go home. And it was really sometimes hard to continue that relationship. And those are the kind of projects I'm looking for now. Yeah.
Amazing. Excellent. And I'm just thinking I have another idea. We need to arrange the university and the Ireland experience instead of Italy. Love Italy, but Ireland.
No, actually, this is something that I mentioned. So we actually have a campus in Prato, which is why it makes it very easy to go there.
Makes sense.
However, what I've said to the dean is, gosh, if we go, Prato could still be part of it, but now we're so close to everything else. So either setting up training for other folks from other places in Prato on their campus, or same thing, hopping on a plane and very closely getting to some.
Come on over.
I would be more than excited. We can talk more about this. Yeah.
For sure. No, brilliant. Maybe we will chat again about that and see if we can do some introductions as well. For sure. Absolutely. No, sounds amazing. So excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time. And then if anyone obviously watching this would like to reach out to you and talk about your experience or how you might be able to help them, some advice on tourism, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so you can actually find me on LinkedIn, and it's, I think, Dr. Jan Louise Jones. It might actually be that's the full title there. But then you can also contact me through the University of New Haven. So if you look up University of New Haven, it's my email and contact information is all right there on the website.
Incredible. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Well, no, Dr. Jan, thank you very much for your time today. Really enjoyed the chat. Learned a lot as ever. So really interested in what's happening. And again, as I say, we will talk again.
Wonderful. It was so nice to meet you.
So thank you for watching today. Hopefully you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Jan, and please do check the link below this video where you can connect and view Dr. Jan's LinkedIn profile, and we'll have a link to the university as well, so you can reach out and connect with her. And if you have any questions, of course, don't be shy and ask them. And hopefully we'll see you in tomorrow's video. So this is Kieran from ProfileTree, and we're the content marketing agency here in Belfast. See you soon. Thank you.